Okay, the final thing we're going to do in this chapter and this unit is a small extension, 13.6, variance and standard deviation. The last time I spoke, I talked about mean absolute deviation, which was that complicated formula. This is very similar, not quite the same, but you'll be able to see the similarities. So we're going to talk first of all about variance. Now the variance of a set of data, and again, we're going to look at the data set x1, x2, up to xn. The variance is represented by something called sigma squared, and it's very similar to mean absolute deviation. We find the difference between each data point and the mean, but we then square it. And divide by the number of values. Okay? So that is variance, and again, it's a measure of dispersion. And this is refined one further step by looking at standard deviation. And standard deviation is sigma, and that is obviously the square root of variance. So the formula for standard deviation is this. And there we are. Okay? So it's these two measures that we're going to be looking at in the next few examples. I'm going to do one example and then set you a bunch of problems. And there's our first problem. So the size of emails in kilobytes in your inbox are 1, 2, 2, 7, 4, 1, 10, 3, and 6. Find the variance and standard deviation of the data. Well, we need to do a number of things here. The first thing we need to do is we need to find the mean. And that is a straightforward process. We add all of the values together and we divide by the number of values, which is 9. If we added all of those numbers up, we get 36. We divide that by 9. So the mean is 4. Okay, so that's a simple calculation. The second calculation, we need to find the variance. So let's remind ourselves about the variance formula, which is here. I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. Okay, so variance, sigma squared, is the difference between each data point and the mean squared. So let's have a look at that. So sigma squared equals, we'll do the first point, so it's 1 minus 4 squared plus 2 minus 4 squared plus 6 minus 4 squared. All divided by the number of values, which is 9. Okay? So let's do that little problem. So sigma squared equals negative 3 squared plus negative 2 squared plus negative 2 squared plus negative 3 squared plus 0 squared plus negative 3 squared plus 6 squared plus negative 1 squared plus 2 squared over 9. Sigma squared equals 9 plus 4 plus 4 plus 9 plus 0 plus 9 plus 36 plus 1 plus 4 over 9. So the variance, sigma squared, equals 76 over 9, which is 8.4 bar. Okay? So that's the second step. And then the third step, we find the standard deviation. So sigma is just the square root of sigma squared. Standard deviation is the square root of variance. So standard deviation equals the square root of 8.4 bar, which equals approximately 2.9. And there we go. There are our three values. Okay? All right, so long, complicated equations. You have to be careful. You have to make sure you write everything down. Don't take shortcuts. They will always lead to long delays. Okay. So the problems you're going to be doing are on page 880 and questions 1 through 3. Okay, great. Now, obviously, this is a very long and unwieldy formula, or these are both long and unwieldy formulae, and with modern computers and calculation technology, we don't necessarily need to do these formulae ourselves. There are resources we can use to help us calculate these, and one of these are online calculators. So what I'd like us to do now is just look at finding online calculators to solve some of the problems. Let's look at a specific example. Okay, so I'm going to do this problem here. I've got to calculate the standard deviation of this set of data. Now, I could do it the way I've just been doing it, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to find an online calculator, and the one I've located is here. Now, the website is easycalculation.com, and all I did is in the search box I typed in standard deviation, and it took me to this page here, the standard deviation calculator, to calculate mean, variance, and standard deviation. Then you just enter the numbers separated by a comma, which is what I'm going to do now. So 299, comma 6338, 1534. 2699. Okay, so I've entered all of my data. I'm now going to calculate. I've got a total of 13 numbers. I have a mean, 2535.076, a standard deviation of 2139, and a variance of some huge number. Okay, so we don't need to worry about those other values at the bottom. There we go. Very simple and straightforward. So if you could do to either use that or a different website to complete the problems on page 880, and we'll do questions 4 through 7, which I'm going to include below. And there they are. Okay, so use an online graphing calculator or any other device that you might have to calculate these values. Right, great, that's it, we're done.